Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake. Breaking news, Christian Walker signs with the Houston Astros. We were in the office, obviously, December 20th. It doesn't stop. You might have quit on your job 3 weeks ago. We just mentally have. But physically, we're here, and Christian Walker has signed with the Houston Astros. And hey, as far as signings go this offseason, not the A tier, but the B tier. And, I think me and BBD had a moment. One of a Wake and Jake kind of breaking news episode that popped was Jose Abreu signing an eerily similar contract about 2 years ago to those same Houston Astros. So the early report is it's Christian Walker for 3 years, $20 million a year. Quick math says $60 million. Biebs is a little hot to trot, thinks there should be some player vesting stuff where there were rumors of a fourth year.
Heard about a fourth year, heard about not a fourth year. His numbers were higher in some prior rumors. Those are just rumors, but you'd think the 3 for $60 number being on the lower end of what people thought he might be getting, there's some avenue for something.
Christian Walker is very good. Christian Walker, his best season was 2022, 5 WAR, which from the first base position, that's pretty diesel. He had a 125 OPS plus, 36 homers. Followed up the next year with 33 homers. The overall WAR went down, which is kind of funny because a lot of the hitting stats actually ticked up a little bit. And then last year in 130 games, he was on a very similar pace. If you look at any of the first base defensive analytics, which are a little sketch, we still don't have that figured out perfectly. But if you look at the top of the leaderboards, you do see the best defensive first baseman to the eye test. And Christian Walker blows like everyone out of the water. So with that, Houston has now started a pretty interesting offseason. The Kyle Tucker trade, which again, that's one of the best players in the American League. He is now a Chicago Cub. Isaac Paredes came over, and we talked about that. He's 25, Isaac. Big time pull hitter. Like if there's a place where he should click, it would be Houston. There were some rumors he was going to play first base. He's now their third baseman. We'll see what they do with the DH position. I do have some thoughts on that. Right now they would have Jordan penciled at DH. Jordan can play a little more left field than I think our brains think, especially with the Crawford boxes out there. His straight line speed is good. He's like a tight end. But the rest of the Astros outfield is still Chas McCormick, Jake Myers, and Taylor Trammell. We've seen them like Chas McCormick and Jake Myers at different times. Mauricio Dubon is still on the team. Love saying that. They are missing a lefty right now, and I'm wondering what their next move is going to be because I have been on a hunt for lefties for my Yankees throughout this entire offseason, so I can tell you a little bit of what's out there. Brandon Lau. Again, they have second base and they have DH. Brandon Lau's played a little bit of outfield. I don't know. Doesn't feel like a perfect fit, but if he went to Houston, you'd be like, okay, that guy could trend back up to 40-ish homers. If he's healthy for a full year, asterisk. Jock Peterson. Young Jock is looking for a home. And if you can have Jordan and Jock survive in left field, and you can have the other one DH, you then have a lineup that is pretty mean 1 through 7. If that example happened, they could go Altuve, Jordan, Paredes, Jock, Christian Walker, Yainer Diaz, Jeremy Pena. So I'm expecting them to add an impact lefty bat. I guess I'm trying to think who else is out there? Because we've done this game a lot. There's not a ton. Like lefties,
not a lot of obvious guys.
Not growing on trees. I think the bigger thing, because I would be very surprised, it felt like there was still an Alex Bregman window open to come home with Isaac going to first and Alex Bregman staying at third. It feels like that's closed. I mean, the only option there would be Jordan as an everyday left fielder, Paredes DHs, and you put Bregman at third, but I don't think they're going to do that because they also need lefties. So it kind of officially feels like the Alex Bregman era is over in Houston, which Surprising and not surprising. Hits both sides of it. Like, they were still talking, but he wanted the 6 years, but it seemed like they were ready to move on. But then where was the interest? Everywhere else. They had a pretty good offer in on him. You have to think the $20 million to Christian Walker ends that. I'll be honest, you're not going to get a good hot take out of me on Christian Walker. I was nervous for the Yankees to sign him just because of the age. He's going to turn 34 for opening day. And the Yankees have just seen Father Time struggle recently between Rizzo, which, ended up being a really weird one when you do the concussion and everything all in. Josh Donaldson didn't look great. DJ LeMahieu has had a couple injuries, and he's fallen off a cliff that could not be Christian Walker. Christian Walker could put together 3 great years. And again, that Houston ballpark tends to help hitters. I do want to look at the Christian Walker spray chart because for all how much I've talked about him, I haven't truly seen. He pulls it.
His homers are pull side.
He pulls it, so that'll work out for him. The baseball savant's pretty that if you're Houston, if you get 2 years of good Christian Walker, that would be a win. And I think that's the interesting thing. Like, next year, you should have very high expectations for Christian Walker offensively and defensively. And then we'll see what goes on from there. So for Houston, they are going to be in the lefty great game. And I wonder what else they have lined up or that they'd be willing to move. I feel like there's that, I don't want to say second tier of players, but like St. Louis, who they had a trade for Nolan Arenado, so it seems like that's out also. Will a Brendan Donovan, Alec Burleson type, could they try to tap into someone like that and get new life in Houston? But I'd have to think they are in the lefty market. The Yankees are slightly in the lefty market. Every team. Lefties are good. There's a lot of right-handed pitching. Lefties are good. Our Yankees forgot that for a year.
Yeah.
Hated that. Now the first base market, Goldschmidt, Carlos Santana. How do you like your old in the morning? We've got the former MVP, righty, big second half, mashed lefties last year, and Paul Goldschmidt played every day for the Cardinals. I think if he plays a little less, he should be good. Carlos Santana, is entering ageless wonder territory. He had one of his best seasons since he was like a young kid stud for Cleveland, and also grades out fantastic defensively, has a good eye, switch hitter, mash lefties. It feels like those guys, Beebs made this joke, and we've been kind of making this joke, but it feels like the Yankees are going to throw $10 million at one of them and see which one signs first. The other one, there's been a lot of Washington Nationals rumors that they want to secure up their first base position. Is that Pete the Meat? Is that one of the veterans? I think Trevor said it on a Talking Baseball that he was like, hey, you've got all these kids in Washington, bring in Carlos Santana for a year. Like, he is one of the true leaders in baseball, especially for the Latin ball players, but for any ball player. He's coming up on 40, and he's still doing the damn thing, switch hitting, puts in the work clearly, that I like that fit. I guess, and you know what, babes? I need to take a step back because I forgot with my Yankee goggles on that the Yankees put together one of the worst defensive innings in baseball history. So we had to rule out guys. I forgot about Anthony Santander. I would love him in Houston. Him or Profar. That was the other one that nobody knows where teams are at with Profar. He had one of the best seasons of all the free agents. It's just such an outlier that a team is going to go for him. And yes, if Houston, if they go for Santander, that lineup is disgusting. And the other weird thing with Houston that I'm interested to see if it transfers into next year, they didn't take pitches at all. I think they were the least pitches seen. Alex Bregman's OBP was down. Altuve's notorious for attacking the ball. I don't know. I wonder, Santander's not an on-base guy, that if Houston doesn't really care about that and they can put him in left field and have him and Yordan, that's funny. If they can have them switch out in left field, that's kind of what they used to do with Michael Brantley. It was kind of like, hey, Brantley or Yordan, you're going to get a couple games in left. You're going to have a couple games DHing. That, my God, if they could add Santander, that is a big boy lineup. And I think Houston is coming back and wants to come back. They kind of had a weird year last year. They got eliminated by the Tigers. They kind of hobbled into the division. Framber, Hunter Brown put together more of a season than I remembered. Ronel Blanco put together a massive season. Spencer Arrighetti down the stretch was great. Luis Garcia should be back next year. They have some of the pitching options that, I guess in the AL West, if you had to make me pick today, well, if I had to pick today, I'd still pick Texas. I think they're going to have a bounce-back year. If they sign Santander, and it's so dumb because one player doesn't change a team's outlook as much as we like to think, but they added Christian Walker today. And if they, in that fake world, I'm adding Santander or Jock Peterson or one of those guys that they've proven what level they can hit at, that Houston would be a wagon. And I'm a hitting guy, and Seattle can't hit. Texas should bounce back. They have hitters and young guys that if one or two of them click, they should be back. I like the signing for Houston. It's definitely that second year is kind of the pivot year for me. You're expecting Christian Walker to be great this year. You're expecting Christian Walker to be good last year. There's a risk that final year. Just playing the odds games with baseball, father time, and injuries, that something can happen there. I mean, we just saw, look at Paul Goldschmidt's last 3 years. Like, there was a bit of a decline. DJ, I can't even talk about it. Good for Houston. They are active, and they should continue to be active, and they've got a lot of different ways they can go as long as it's lefty or switch hitting, and just said that those options are out there. And then, I guess closing this one off for free agency and first base, still interested to see what happens with Pete, man. I don't know. Are the Nats going to push that button and put the money in? Are the Mets just like, no, we like Pete. We got Soto. Like, let's go hit. Or the secret third option. Who knows? The John Heyman mystery team. Will Seattle pony up the money? Is there another? I mean, the Yankees are out. I'm not gonna do that.
Feels like if Yankees ever became a real option for that, the Mets would rightfully step in and correct that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's too much vibes-based analysis, but...
So we are getting to an interesting spot in free agency where impact hitters remaining. Alex Bregman, yep. Pete Alonso, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Teoscar, yes. Santander, yep. After that, man, you've got a bucket of Profar, Glaber, and Ha-Seong Kim.
Yeah.
And then I would put Jock in there. I've been a staunch Jock Peterson guy only because he rakes every year.
Mm.
So even if that's everyone all in, like, I don't want to be shots fired at Paul Goldschmidt, but I don't think he carries the weight of, and hopefully I'm wrong if he signs with the Yankees. But, I don't think Paul Goldschmidt's hitting third or fourth days are still there. I think he can be a nice piece from the 5-6 hole.
Like him and like whoever team gets him, I don't think is signing him to be some sort of like savior.
I mean, there's a chance that Profar is.
They have those kinds of ceilings on them.
There's a chance that Profar is. I don't know. Nobody knows. He is very classic. The Jakey. If he signs with a good team, you're going to be like, ooh, Yeah, love that. Profar. If he signs with a bad team, you're going to be like, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to see you, Jerkson.
Congrats on the deal.
Seattle, please don't. We've seen that too many times. Please do not. So, hey, a little smoke out of Houston in this hot stove. I think the biggest takeaways, first baseman market starts to thin a little bit, although there's still options in the free agent pool and there's a bunch of trade options, so maybe not.
Yeah.
Alex Bregman needs a home. What was that?
Been saying this a lot, but listen to Joel Sherman, and talking. It's all from one episode I listened to. He mentioned first base is kind of they can afford to, talking about the Yankees, you can afford to bargain shop a little bit, and then during the season, any team that falls out of contention, their first baseman becomes available. That's the rules of baseball, and that made me laugh.
It's becoming a Joel Sherman pod. We may have to reach out soon. Hey, I think that was a quick hitter before the football and the holidays, and we'll see if there's any other baseball news there. Is there anything else that needs to be said?
I'm not seeing any new news. Max Kepler to the Phillies.
Nice. Maybe
doesn't not make sense.
Maybe a change of scenery and a nice hitter's ballpark will do Max well. But yeah, I mean, he's currently, no offense to Max Kepler, where do they slot him in? They have him slotted in 6. Okay. I still want to see, are the Phillies going to flip bomb and then they sign Bregman? Like, they haven't.
It feels like there's
a move yet.
There's the move of the offseason that they've got to pull off.
God, the Phillies are good.
Yeah.
Braves, where are you? I'm not going to do my every team thing again because I'm going to head to the bathroom and get ready for the holidays. So thank you guys. Make sure you're subscribed. If there's any good juicy news, we might set up the Zoom and do something quick. We'll see. Otherwise, I mean, do we shout out Uncle Dan?
Wick and Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.